All right, so welcome to my fraudcast. I'm calling it a fraudcast because people, which I am so grateful, have been asking when my podcast is coming back out. I can't answer because I'm afraid of committing. I can't commit to making content on a weekly basis like I was before, and I'll talk about more of why and how and blah 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 in a little bit. But I'm calling this my fraudcast because one of the beautiful things about YouTube is you can just post when you want. At least that's how I look at it. I know some people take it very seriously and post like every day, but I feel like YouTube is kind of like email where you can post when you feel like you have something to say. So I think I'll start off by kind of revisiting why I'm not talking about technology as much and sort of what I've been focused on recently and just other fun stuff. Like, I really just want this to be a space for us to have fun. I don't fucking care about, you know, solving the world's biggest problems, to be honest with you. I just want to be a source of entertainment. So, with that being said, um, if you have been a follower of mine for a while, you'll know that I got my start with Boss Babe, which was my first company, and I sold it in 2018. And a big motivation to sell it was because I was over it, and I also wanted to talk a lot about technology and economics. I was really concerned, literally. I was just concerned about how Instagram was changing society, and I wanted to talk about it and I wanted to amplify it and all those juicy things. So I'm really proud of what I was able to accomplish between, let's say, honestly, within that year of 2018 to 2019. I did a self-funded mini documentary talking about attention for sale and how devastating that is for us as a culture. And I also did other YouTube commentary, and it's so funny to see YouTube now has really blown up with the social commentary and that kind of style of video. And I didn't know that was going to happen. I mean, I don't take credit. I just think it's really cool to now see so many people doing these kind of like commentary video essay like videos. So I did a few, and I will say they captured the attention of some pretty high profile people. And I started being in tech rooms. And, I think looking back, I didn't understand how prestigious tech was. I didn't understand how, like, high level of the high level it was. I got into technology because my dad's an early adopter, and I just always, I think when you have a techie as a dad, you just feel it to be very accessible. Like, and I also lived in the Bay Area for about 8 years. So I was literally in the action as it was happening, as Facebook was growing and Instagram and I was there, and you don't realize you're there when it's happening. Jay-Z has this great line in his book Decoded where he says something like, I didn't even know I was from New York. I didn't realize I was from New York because, and he was talking about during the hip hop era, because when you're in the thick of it, you don't know history is happening. So I was there, and I met a lot of weirdos, and I have a love-hate relationship with California. I think it's such a stunning and unique place, but it goes without saying that it's full of very toxic, and a lot of toxic ambition is what I'll call it, where it's just over the top ambition and it's just really ridiculous, and it's not a place of reality. Everywhere from the North Bay to Hollywood, no one's in reality in California, and that's why it's a love hate, because sometimes that's cool and sometimes it's terrifying. So I was able to trek a lot of land in that year. I consulted for a lot of tech companies. I came in and gave talks about tech philosophy. And, sometimes I say that nobody was really listening and nobody took my, I guess, advice. But the other part of it is like, hey, girl, like, you got in literally the biggest companies. And I never went to school. I never had a corporate job. I got all of those things from sharing theory on YouTube, um, and social media. So then what happened? I mean, there's two ways to look at the story. One way is I felt like no one was listening and things weren't moving as fast as I wanted. And then another part of it is like, well, I just wasn't being patient enough. I was being too much of a millennial. I should have sat through and continued to um, deal with the kind of like the slow pace and the bureaucracy of big companies. But I think also what was happening was I was starting to get approached by brands to do content and to do work, and they just were cheap. Honestly, that's the truth. They were cheap. They wanted a lot of work done for not that much money, and I think they were using their names, and I'm not naming anyone specifically, but I think that most of the time when a big brand approaches you, they think that because they're a big shiny brand, you should feel honored to be associated with them, which I think when you're 23, 24, it is an honor. But I had been in this world of brands and marketing and tech for years at that point, and I was like, no, I don't care. I don't care about that anymore. I was also burnt out. I think I got traditional millennial textbook burnout from going so hard, and then the pandemic happened, and I think like everyone else, I questioned, what the hell am I doing? Like, do I want to do this? Is there something else I could be doing? How did I get here? Like all those kinds of questions. And so I decided that what I was doing was not worth the effort I was putting in. I had been ignored by multiple. Basically, what was happening is I would say one thing about technology and I would do my best to broadcast it everywhere, blast it, talk about it, ask everyone to talk about it. And then I'd say like a year or two after, you'd have someone who has more visibility in the tech space, maybe someone who did go to school, who does have a network of Ivy League people, and they would say the same exact thing. I have a memory of going to one of these events and literally finishing the sentences this man was saying: older man, investor, big shot. And I really felt um, relieved that he had come to the same conclusions I was coming to, and I couldn't wait. I was so like enthusiastic and naive and optimistic, and I even like gave him some of my self-made merch that I was making to like make statements about where we were, sociologically with tech and blah blah blah. And he um just literally pushed me away. Like he did not want to deal with me because he had asked like, who do you write for? And I'm so naive when it comes to these things. Like when he said who I write for, I was like, I literally was like, the internet. And I didn't know what he was asking is like, what publication? Because to him, if you're not writing for a publication, you're not writing. And so there's really a culture clash on multiple dimensions. As a real internet kid and not someone who went through the traditional education system, I didn't understand why I needed those things because we were saying the same exact thing. But, you do more research and you think about Little Kim in fashion or Misa Hilton in fashion, and it's the same pattern. It's the same, like, oh, this person who comes from this socioeconomic background, who happens to be this race and happens to be this gender, seems to have a hard time getting credit for doing the thing that now has hit mainstream conversation and people love, or people are giving credit to others. And there's only so many times that kind of shit can happen for me. Like I said, one part of the story can be I just gave up too early and I should have just kept going. But another part is just I didn't have the stomach to keep going. And I didn't feel like we had time. Like it's done. Like when I did attention for sale, I felt like it was so urgent. I felt like I had to get this message out right now because time was of the essence. And in a lot of ways, I feel like the time has eclipsed. Like, we're past that now, and now we're just on this other side of tech and dystopia. And it's whatever. Like, honestly, I knew this was coming, so here we are. So I think that's just a long way of just saying I was jaded, and I was interested in seeing what else I can do. And of course, that's when like soft life stuff came out, and I got indoctrinated in all of that. And, you know, I also was studying a lot of Taoism, and it's all the same shit. It's just chilling the fuck out and just not working to the bone, and trusting that the universe or that God is going to God, and you don't need to take the wheel and control everything. And so that's more of the state I'm in now. And it's just like time has passed. I can't believe it's been 5 years since then. I cannot believe it. It just went so fast. So now I'm left with this amazing audience who I do feel a connection with. And there were days where I'm like, I don't know, that's it, y'all. I don't have anything else to say. New stuff was coming out, and I was just like, I really don't have anything else to say. Like, because I feel like I'm just going to be repeating myself, and I didn't want to be that girl who was constantly repeating herself and talking about how she constantly repeats herself. I was just like, that's not chic. I don't, no. So here we are now. I will say that I'm sad at where social media has gone. I feel like, yes, it's gotten worse. Yes, it's more fragmented. Yes, it's more demoralized. Twitter, Twitter was toxic when it was Twitter. I don't want to sound like I think Twitter used to be great. Twitter didn't used to be great. It was really awful from a moral standpoint and sociological standpoint, but I did enjoy it, even though it was bad. I still loved being on it. Now it feels like Musk took a hammer to it, and then it feels like Zuckerberg took the pieces that Musk smashed it with and tried to make his own thing. And they both don't really capture what I appreciate about Twitter as of now. But I hope one thing everyone has learned from all this is, do you see how quickly things change? Like, I don't see the point of making full on analysis of like Instagram, because Instagram is a completely different monster than it was even a couple years ago, right? So these things change, and like, all I really wanted to get through is that don't let yourself be at such the mercy of the changes, because you'll go crazy, in my opinion. And it's not fair, and it doesn't get easier. And it's really effed up that we as creators make up the entire population of these apps that allow them to profit, and for what? Like, we don't even get a real promise that what we put in is going to pay us back. It's all a gamble. And for a lot of people, the thrill of potentially being popular for a couple of seconds is worth that. And I would still encourage people to question, how is that worth it for you? The sanity, the research we have now on how it has been scientifically proved. I mean, there's class action lawsuits based on scientific data that a lot of these apps have caused depression and anxiety and real mental problems for people. So we're all playing with fire here. We're playing in a pool of battery acid and splashing it on each other. And I don't know what else there is to say about that. Every industry has been deromanticized. Everything has just been commoditized. Everything's just been stripped of its essence, and humanity hangs by a thread, right? The feeling of wanting to um, be alive and discover and explore, like these things are challenged. So, again, this is all a really long way of just saying I was totally jaded and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I'm sorry if you were expecting more of me during those times, but I do hope that with the fraudcast, I can go off when I feel like it about certain things. And I think one thing I relate to my audiences about is that we like a lot of different things. We can handle complicated subjects, not just complicated subjects, but a variety. We can handle variety. And I do feel confident that if I want to hop on and talk about Karl Lagerfeld, I can do that. Or if I want to hop on and talk about some intense Taoism, I can do that. If I want to hop on and talk about some frivolous pop culture stuff, which I most likely won't, I know I can still do that. So I just want to have a good time. And I appreciate the people who do see me and have seen the effort and have put in the effort. You know, I know we're all working out here. We're all trying to make this shit work. So with that, that is my little update, and I'll see you when I see you.